Don't you spend enough time waiting for patches, system updates, and even worse, title updates? On Lag Free, we won't waste your time, and we talk about the topics that you want to hear about in a decidedly different fashion. No scripts or forced sides here. Listen to Lag Free, recorded and released regularly on Intrepid Audio Productions.
Hello listeners, once you're done catching up with everything Intrepid Audio Productions has to offer, check out some other great independent podcast shows like the Knights of the Video Game Table podcast. Jeremy, Patrick, and Frank do great work, and it's worth your time to check them out. They're part of the Nerdgasm Network, where you can find other cool shows including the Super Budget Brothers, the Nerdgasm Network Video Game Podcast, and all other shows which can be found at extraplay.info. Give them a listen, because good, honest work can be hard to find.
Sort of break it down like this.
Oh, fantastic. He is one of the biggest meatballs on Twitter.
I'm an idiot.
No, that's okay.
Nice to meet you, I'm Mike.
Could you please take back Tim Tebow?
Oh, awesome.
College football in touch.
I don't understand where these questions are coming from, Tom. That's about it for Manager's Corner. Go yourself and with your show coming up next on the Baltimore Oriole Baseball Network.
I made a note about college sports, and the note just says college sports in general.
Whammy!
Can't do it.
The changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold.
Boogie boogie. Great stuff.
Welcome back to Chicago Sports Update here on Intrepid Audio Productions.
Just to all the listeners, thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Chicago Sports Update here on IAP Podcast. This is Matt. Quick show this week, and, I am genuinely surprised, and will give complete credit where credit is due. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, the Bulls have decided to unload Luol Deng to the Cleveland Cavaliers in exchange for a couple draft picks, as well as Andrew Bynum and his now defunct $15 million salary. He has been waived. That is now taken off against the cap. Does not apply. That is fantastic news to free up that sort of financial flexibility, especially when Deng's contract is about $12 million or so. So that's a wonderful thing to gain a couple extra $1 million as far as wiggle room in the budget going into next year. The draft pick, it comes over from the Cavaliers, which originated from the Kings. It was a consideration pick. So if it's within the top 10 of the of draft picks, it's protected. I think that goes on for the next couple of years. Otherwise, it becomes a second-round draft pick. So, and in the deal, they also got another second-round draft pick. So that's really good. That's good. I'm really happy that the Bulls were able to do that. John Paxson, I don't know if you've been listening. I sincerely doubt that, but to all Bulls fans out there, this is really good news because it does exactly what they needed to do going into potentially decent free agent market and planning for the future and not focusing on winning this year, last year, year before, because that's kind of where they've been stuck at as far as their will to win and where they've been thinking and placing their money in sorts. So as far as contracts and players are concerned. So I'm really happy about the change that they've that this complete seemingly change of course that the Bulls organization, the Berto Center, whatever you want to call it, are how they're taking care of it and how they're going to be doing business for the rest of the season. Because all too often, I've even said I've been a big detractor of them, as far as saying that they don't understand what's going on with the organization. They don't know where they're at. They're tone deaf. And, I'm very happy that they decided to get a pair of ears and, listen to see what's going on and a pair of eyes to see what's going on around the landscape as far as how the Bulls are concerned. So that's really good news. I'm really happy about that. Otherwise, Olympic hockey teams have been named. There are three of the big Blackhawk stars have been named to the teams, including Duncan Keith, Patrick Sharp, and Jonathan Toews. To Team Canada, several players, I believe three, including Marcus Kruger, Nicholas Hjalmarsson, and one other, can't specifically think off the top of my head, was named to Sweden. Marian Hossa and Michael Handzus been named to the Slovakian team, and Patrick Kane will be will be representing the United States in Sochi these coming Olympics. Now, I've talked about it before. I can absolutely care less about the Olympics. I just hope to God they do not get hurt, because that is the last thing on this earth that the Blackhawks need to happen. I hope all of them travel safe. I hope they all play safe and do not get hurt and end up coming back and pursuing the greater goal of the Stanley Cup, because that is what it's about. I don't give two flying craps about Olympic gold. I just don't. And the fact that Canadian hockey fans, heck, national hockey fans from Canada give so much weight to the Olympics is honestly pathetic. If you focus just a fraction of the energy that it takes to devote to Canadian hockey and to Canadian Olympic hockey, dear God, put that back into your home team. Put that back to your regional team. Put that back into a team that you care about, and demand that sort of excellence from one of those teams in order to go get the Stanley Cup, and put your team's name on the Stanley Cup at the end of the year. Because honestly, what do you care if you win twice every 10 years of specifically a gold medal? Whoop-de-freaking do. I would much rather have 4 or 5, heck, 3 to 5 times my team name on the on the Stanley Cup, as opposed to random city gold Olympics. Yeah, I just don't care, and that's kind of where I think I genuinely hope the majority of hockey fans are out there. At least one. Maybe if it's just an American thing, fine. If it's an American thing, I'll take that. Call me an arrogant American, as far as one without that has no perspective as far as the international game is concerned. You need the international game. Go watch international hockey. Don't stay away from the NHL then, because you're not needed. We don't need you. We don't want you. You can spend the money on on jerseys, on merchandise. That's great. That's all well and good. Go to the game, spend the money there, because in the end, that's what it's about. It's not about some stupid garbage gold medal. You want a trinket? You want a trophy for competing? Okay, go watch the juniors. Go watch amateur hockey. Go watch peewee hockey. I don't care. That mentality is not needed at the highest level, because guess what? It's an international game. You got players. I just named 4 countries of players that the Blackhawks draw from. Excuse me. There are plenty of other teams that draw from all across Europe to play there. You really want to do that? If you really want to call it an international game, the NHL is already an international game. So, to me, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. You can keep the Olympic stuff. International play doesn't matter. I know I've said that also about the World Baseball Classic as well. Because, in the end, it just doesn't matter. So, well, other bit of news that broke. Let's see. I would say a day or two after this show was released, our last show, where I talked about Jay Cutler not knowing necessarily what's going to happen, but mentioning the fact that a 3-year contract would be probably in the best interest of the team in order to, down the road, not necessarily this draft, maybe next draft, 2015, heck, even 2016, go out, draft a quarterback, develop, let him learn the system through Cutler, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. You can go listen back to that episode where I make my finer points on that. Well, guess what? The Bears decided to extend Jay Cutler, guaranteed 3 years, $54 million, making him appropriately paid considering where he's at. Yes, you have to pay a premium for a quarterback. If I didn't mention that before, I'm doing that now. This is the one position that you have to overpay for. I would say close number 2 would probably be either offensive line or wide receiver, either one, just considering how the game's gone. But either way, neither here nor there regarding those 2 positions. But quarterback, he's getting more guaranteed money than players he should be getting more guaranteed money. The players like Matthew Stafford, in the neighborhood of Tony Romo. he's not the highest paid. That's totally fine. He's a tick below those top-tier quarterbacks. So who are we talking about? We're talking about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. I think Tony Romo is right there, or Aaron Rodgers, excuse me. He's up there, and that's all fine, well and good. But he's not in the top 5. That's fine because, well, he hasn't proven to be a top 5 quarterback. We've said that before, but there are certainly a lot more quarterbacks that I would pick him over to lead my team and to quarterback my team as opposed to some of the other flakes or, drooling morons out there that happen to be quarterbacks in this league. So I'm very happy that the Bears did so. What was concerning was that it was initially reported as a 7-year deal. Yes, it is a 7-year deal. So, but what that means is for after year 3, they have year-to-year options. The Bears hold year-to-year options, whether to pick them up, continue to pay him, but not necessarily giving him guaranteed money. That can be determined later. It's a wonderful thing as far as the flexibility that they were able to work out with Jay Cutler. He, during the press conference, was great. It was really great to see him just be professional, be grateful, courteous, the All-American smiling quarterback. That's all great, well and good. And he was interested. He was vested in the team. They did a very good job about winning the press conference. Made it very much focused about that, as well as talking about some of the end of the season issues regarding the defense and some of the things that's going to be going on in Hallis Hall regarding any potential changes and the like. So that's good to see. Otherwise, it's been rather quiet. Matsuhiro Tanaka, the Japanese pitcher I was mentioning before, maybe a couple episodes ago, has been posted by the Nippon Golden Eagles and will be taking interviews this week with both sides of town, both the Cubs and the White Sox, which is very interesting. We learned today a little bit more of the details regarding the posting system, specifically that the $20 million that is paid as the posting fee is paid over 2 years, which is fantastic, especially if they don't have to if they're not going to be paying for him, if they're not going to get him. Delay some of that money. That's really, really good thing for MLB. And hopefully it doesn't create this perceived disparity between the Japanese League and Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is the greener pasture. It's bigger. It's the best. It's the best in the business. This is where they go. This is where they play. This is where the money is at. As far as baseball is concerned, this is it. This is the summit. Not getting any higher. Not getting paid more than what you're being paid at the Major League level. So, hats off to Japanese players that do want to come over and be paid the money. As far as I'm concerned, I really don't have that much of a problem with money, I don't know, cherry picking talent out of the Japanese leagues, simply because the Japanese love baseball, and that's a great thing. They're going to watch and consume Major League Baseball. We've seen that done with Boston, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, specifically the Dodgers. Otherwise, that's really great. That's a really good thing, and making the game appealing more on an international level. I'm sorry, you're not going to find a more international game, probably aside from hockey, as far as the talent that's playing in Major League Baseball. So, this episode is coming out before the announcement of the Hall of Fame in the latest class. It's a stuffed ballot. There are so many recognizable names for baseball fans over the past 20 years. Yes, names like Mark McGwire, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, but also those that are very, very deserving and did their job as players. Specifically, 3 that I'm going to mention: Tom Glavine, Frank Thomas, and Greg Maddux. Not necessarily in any order there, but 3 players that truly do deserve to be first ballot Hall of Famers. Never considerations of misconduct, malfeasance regarding the steroid era, participating in the steroid era even. It's just a very good thing, and I really, truly hope that all 3 of them are elected into the Hall of Fame. If there are a couple other names that get in, all fine, well, and good. But those 3 should be the pillars, the cornerstones, if you will, of this Hall of Fame class and how voting should go going forward, because these are players that, well, not only had any there were no doubts about their abilities, their talent. They were very clean and very outspoken being clean. Greg Maddux just outsmarted you on the mound. Tom Glavine just grinded, just really had a good career. He was at one time one of the best pitchers in the game, being a very key proponent for the Atlanta Braves organization in their long run of division titles, as well as winning a World Series back in, I believe it was 92, 90, the mid-90s. I can't specifically recall the time, what specific year, but oh man, wow, it's certainly great. You're talking about Frank Thomas, who was very outspoken about the steroid era and very much anti-steroid use. The White Sox, I will give them credit, and I hope other people do recognize this, that because the White Sox decided to implement testing immediately, and if players abstained, from the test and did not take the test, it would be considered a positive test. And that team was able to instill testing in the game. It was a certain percentage. Basically, all that needed to happen was that one team entirely either take, fail, or abstain from the test, and testing would be instituted. That's what happened. And the game is better for it, as far as I'm concerned. It's been a long time coming. I wish it happened a lot earlier, as far as some of the restrictions and the testing policies that have gotten out there. Science is finally catching up. Yet the cheaters, those users, are always going to stay one step ahead. I accept that for what it is. Just be very proactive in guarding against that, and well, that's what Major League Baseball has done. So I have very high hopes for Frank Thomas, and I hope that he will be able to be called a Hall of Famer by this time tomorrow. So thank you very much for listening, everybody. Otherwise, been pretty quiet. The Blackhawks have been rather up and down, mercurial, losing a few games here, especially in overtime, at least getting those valuable points. Corey Crawford returning from injury, not really stellar, I guess is the best way to put it. And, well, I'm fine with that, simply because they haven't paid him a boatload of money. And that's always a good thing, because as I've learned, as I've noticed in my few years of really paying attention so much more to hockey, if you pay a goalie, you are only going to pay for that in the long run. And I don't say that just in the fiscal sense. You're handicapping yourself. Certainly, Hendrik Lundqvist certainly hasn't gotten off to the best start after signing his extension for the next 7 years, putting him in Luongo territory. And, well, Roberto Luongo is just a punchline as far as I'm concerned at this point. So Team Canada, have fun with that as your, as one of your goalies there. So I don't believe in paying goalies, and well, certainly the Bowmans don't either, as they'd much rather pay goal scorers as well as defensemen that keep the puck away from the goalie in the first place. So that's really that. So thank you very much for listening, everybody. You can find the podcast on Twitter at IAP Podcasts, all one word. And you can find me on Twitter at Matt_F_Kane, Kane, just like Patrick Kane, to no relation, though, which is a very good thing. So at times, especially when he's punching cabbies drunkenly, or stumbling through Madison, Wisconsin, which God help you if you're there. So thank you very much for listening, everybody, and we hope to talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to Chicago Sports Update here on Intrepid Audio Productions. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching IAP Podcasts, all one word. We make it easy to listen to us at home or on the go, because you can subscribe to us via iTunes or on your browser at Spreaker.com. Listen to us on the go with the Stitcher Radio app, available for all smartphones. Want to interact with the team directly? Leave any questions, comments, or feedback you may have at our Facebook page. You can also like our page to know about special events, shows topics, and listen directly on our page to new and past episodes. Feel free to email us anytime at iappodcasts@gmail.com. IAP Podcasts, pioneering the best in independent podcasting.
The best. Or worst food. What I ate. Check it out at thebestorworstfood.whatIate.blogspot.com.